Well, our journey for the completion of Chapter 3 Infinitum kicked off on a high note with the Underworld. I absolutely loved that piece. Figured I would. This is Ad Infinitum we're talking about, and I've had a wonderful experience covering their music and experiencing it for myself in terms of first introduction, specifically on this channel, as many of you are aware, when I started back with Chapter 1 in December. And ever since, in the months since, I've consulted a wide body of their work, and I've been impressed with every piece I've heard. There's not been a single Ad Infinitum song I've not liked. And I was sure that Chapter 3 would be the same. The first 4 singles, exquisite. And so far, I'm enjoying the journey with the build-up. I mean, I've been waiting for this album to drop all day, and when the pre-order notification came in that it's ready for download, I'm like, let's hit it up and have the party together as I promised you. I don't do full album reactions that often, but it's namely to be democratic to the many artists that I consult as I build out music as a presence here on this channel. It's been a long-time aspiration of mine over 2023 that's evolving very well. Much more so than I thought it would be in envisionment. And part of that is due to the access points I found in regards to favorable music talents. And the European metal scene, as I've said many times, is a gold mine of a destination. They have so many capable names. Ad Infinitum absolutely qualifies. I've had a wonderful time with them, experiencing a very talented symphonic metal group. Not just every musician in this band, they're all exquisite, but Melissa Bonney as well. Her vocal talent just impressed me from the get-go. Many of you know that's why I hopped into Ad Infinitum in the first place, was on faith. I bought all their albums outright, even before covering them, with the intention of having that first experience of you on this channel, and that was in regards to, as I was saying, with Melissa Bonney, the Mortinia collaboration. Devastation Bound is what hit it for me. I'm like, I gotta hear more from this woman, and ever since, I've just loved the ride. As I said, I promised you with Chapter 3, because again, it's been so exquisite, and in past considerations of Chapters 1 and 2. I've listened to every album in their entirety, but I enjoy the collaborative experience, even if necessarily I can't see your faces. I've had wonderful exchanges of you in the comment sections to many of my videos, those of you who perhaps fellow Infinitors or maybe newcomer fans, and there's been a couple of you. And it's been, in part, an aspiration of mine, if I can make it a manifested goal on this channel, to utilize music collaborations to provide you different routes to explore around if you happen to be artist shopping. For me, as I've said for many years, the reason I started emboldening music coverage on this channel in part was because it was a first love, aside from many of their entertainment ventures I cover on a more regular basis of what I founded this channel on. Music is very much a first passion in my life. And I love the experience of sharing in that joy and elation, especially on such exquisite execution of craft with you. Especially when it pertains to new listeners. It's great to hear about exchange of I didn't know about this talent. I got to consult more of their work. It's nice to have that feeling that perhaps I'm paving routes for you if I can manage this, to explore around of artists that boast such competence. And Ad Infinitum, if you've never engaged with their works before, I know many of you have, and many of you are fellow Infinitors like myself that, to be fair, do outrank me in years of seniority. But it's been a wonderful family to join. I love the atmosphere of Ad Infinitum. You guys have been so positive in regards to having backs and forths, and it's nice. I don't have that many connections in my personal life. I've never had that being a metalhead. It does admittedly put me in a very secluded space, but and sometimes I do feel like, do anybody else have my music taste? Some of you do. It's been great to meet you. And I realize I'm not the only one out here that feels the way I do about metal music. I crave it. And with Ad Infinitum, I've been intoxicated with their capabilities. I mean, I can't speak enough high regard to them. They really are an impressive talent. And I hope for those of you that are approaching this as a first-time introduction, I know on faith this song will be good. There's not, as I said, been a song with Ad Infinitum I've not liked. I hope the experience is invigorating enough for you to perhaps consult their past work, but to enjoy this particular piece we're about to look at, Ravenous. I love the name. It's ominous. It sounds dark. I like the journey of that. I don't know what's the emotion of this piece. I'm curious to engage with it on that note. Let's see. I can't wait to hear it again. This vision from Ad Infinitum, and them being a conceptual talent too. I love conceptual artists, and the historical vibe to their work really impresses me, even if perhaps, again, I'm really digging back into my elementary school days of Egyptian history. It adds a nice dimension to their music, and the storytelling really is quite capable and fun to engage with. So let's continue down the path of celebrating in this wonderful party I'm having tonight with Chapter 3 through Ravenous. I'm going to go ahead and cue up the song, and if you're not familiar with the way I format my music coverage on this channel, perhaps this is the first introduction for you to my work. I try and provide as complete of accounts and content as possible, and that includes accommodating listener tastes. And if you're someone that likes to read along with the message of the piece and the narrative is established by the artist through the lyrical content, I do try my best generally to provide those for you in the video, and this song it'll be no different. You'll be able, if you want to follow the song on that note as we listen to it for the first time, you'll be able to read the song as we go our way through it, because the lyrics will be on screen and they'll proceed with the song. Anyway, in accordance with, the song's duration. So, Ravenous. Here we go. That manifests a nice historical vibe. Nice. I was gonna say, like Seth, it's got that ancient presence. Great entrance point. Oh, nice. Prominent inflections, I love that. The variability, beautiful. Melissa Bonney really is a special vocalist. I love hearing her work. Nice. Nice transference. Wonderful pacing to the lyrics, too. So exciting, exhilarating. I love that. These are great constructions of the chorus. I love these specific verses again, like I said, in the structure, and then the pacing is just so effective. Nice. I like how she reduced that. Yeah, there's a nice change. It's a good transition. Screaming intro, that verse was great, but I liked how it reduced. Added a lot more menace and presence. Well, both sides did. Here's our segue. I love it. I got such a Seth vibe with this one, I love it. Beautiful as always. Love that one. The pacing on that one is just beautiful. That opener. I mean, I don't know what flute that is. I've said many times, I don't come at this consulting artists on this channel from a musician's perspective. I mean, if the closest extension I have to that is like back in my piano days, and that was 5 years. I started when I was, 7? I don't know. So 7 to 11 years old? I don't know. I always wanted to do percussion. It's life doesn't always carry satisfaction of the dreams we wish to entertain. But I would have loved to do percussion and stuff like that. That would have been fun. The percussion work on this song as well, like I said, the pacing on these pieces are just so effective for me. So again, as I was saying, I come at these videos from the perspective of a music connoisseur, right? I'm just an avid listener. As I've been for many years, I said music is very much a close and first passion. So just the enjoyment, right? That's the experience I cherish. And it's really, I can guess, but I can't always provide in detail. So I welcome any opportunity for those of you who are perhaps more experienced musicians, right? The flute, or whatever instrument it was that opened this song, what was that? Because I loved it. Gives it such an ancient flourish, especially, again, like I said, this song is so reminiscent of Seth to me. In energy, it just feels so much like that piece. And you'll remember, I was just elated hearing that one in particular, because again, if we're going to go with the Egyptian vibe, which is on this album, it's a mainstay. For those of you, again, this is perhaps a first introduction. That's playing in the conceptual vision with the historical background, which Ad Infinitum has always established themselves as part of their identity and their originality of craft. Seth was explicitly Egyptian in sound. It's seldom, in my experiences, sometimes I hear it, it depends on the particular song. I've seen it played around in other places where perhaps the historical ambiance of a particular a culture is documented in the music structure, right? Let's say for some comparisons, I don't know, like anything, I'm not going to assume here, make a guess, maybe I'm wrong, but like when I've consulted other groups, let's say for example Feuerschwangs and D'Artagnan, right, the Musketeer vibe, I've heard that's in particular mainstay in certain facets within Germany at the very least, so I consider that maybe more so as like a mainstay of most of their artists, though I don't want to necessarily generalize. There's probably some deviation points. And maybe other talent as well, and again, artists cover a broad range of scope and execution, so I want to be fair. But at least from what I've heard from at least two groups thus far, and maybe more going forward, well, actually, to be fair, there is some extensions into other genres within Germany. But I don't know, like, for me, at least in my mind, the pirate musketeer energy of what both of those groups go for in their folk rock style, it's a particular defining trait. Let's say maybe a better comparison to make, for example, in regard to what I'm speaking of like cultural sound in music defined in the pieces. And I haven't covered this piece yet, but it's coming. I did hear a sample of it, which is why I bring it up. I can't wait to cover this piece in full. Even just on the lyrical identity, I can speak to that. But Becca Shea, she's I don't know how many people know that. And probably some people do. She's a really gifted artist. I've been listening to her for years since she first came on the radio. For me, with Here in This Moment off of her Life album, she's a pretty well-known, I believe independent, I might have that wrong, Christian contemporary artist with like a hip-hop type vibe. She's super talented. I love her work. She does a lot of covers, by the way. So in terms of maybe some familiar listens, maybe there's some artists in the general pop or mainstream music scene that you like that she's done a cover to, and they're always so funny. Like if this song were, how'd she phrase it? I think it's like, if insert title of whatever song it is here were a Christian piece. They're so funny. I love, they're great listens. Like I said, she's super talented. I would engage with her if you haven't. Highest recommendations from me. I'm going to be consulting a song of hers, King, and I know that going into it, because I did read the lyrics ahead of time, I did hear a sample that one has I think she, from what, again, the little bit I saw, is I'm like, I'm going to wait out on it. And I'll make this clear when I cover the song. Like, I did see it maybe a couple seconds in advance, but the video, from my understanding, I believe was filmed in Israel. And the song has this explicitly Hebrew vibe in the music. In fact, she speaks literal Hebrew, at least I think in the chorus sections for a couple verses, and I forget the specific lines. But it's so cool when you hear a song like that, again, in energy. But to make the analogy clear, when I listen to Ad Infinitum, like for example with Seth, or this piece, Ravenous, I hear that Egyptian vibe. Or in this case, I think maybe with Ravenous is a little more just like, broadly speaking, sort of like an ancient history type energy, maybe not necessarily in as specific direct presence as Seth. That one, for me, at least in part, was a little more explicit in that styling. This came close, but it's more so like, again, an ancient type mood. Large part due to that introductory instrument. But what I was saying in terms of the King analogy, again, like that individualized presence where it sort of takes you into a space of maybe history in particular, or history or maybe contemporary times, to a particular, world culture that maybe you're not as familiarized to, maybe you've gone to, maybe you visited, maybe you're experienced with in some capacity, but you recognize that sound, right? But it's so specific and defined that it adds this charm in its language and execution. That's why I was saying, maybe again, like I said, some people would kind of see it as a weird tangent point to make, but I think it's a perfect analogy in styling. And maybe there's other groups you could speak to that sort of fit that model where you listen to them and you're like, I feel like I'm in this particular part of the world when I listen to this song, just because of the way it illustrates its musical score side. Ravenous, for me, like I said, ancient presence with beautiful vocal structuring. I love those little raised inflections, like the hopping that Melissa Bonney does her voice was so great. I don't know necessarily what to call it. Again, like I said, musical connoisseur, not musician. But that piece for me just has everything. A great rock energy, beautiful pacing, love the structure, the key choice was wonderful, very engaging, fun procession, quite frankly. It had a bit of an Animals vibe, too, from Chapter 2. I mean, look at how it established itself, right? She's got the more melodic vocals going forward until she gets to the bridge, and she hits with, like, it all starts with a lullaby, right, and she has a spoken word, same thing Animals did, and then kicks in with a scream. And if you're not familiar with, or the scream / growl, if you're not familiar with Melissa Bonney, I'm so fascinated by her range. She really can do everything, in my opinion. And as I've said many times, I carry a very special place in my heart for ladies in the rock scene that have such prominent talent, and there are many names to mention, many of which I could reference. Melissa Bonney, for me, is just so special in that recognition, that just hearing that menace. She's so powerful as a vocalist. I love hearing her work. Great piece all around. As I said, I take it on faith that it's going to be great, and Ad Infinitum, for me, always delivers, and I'm certainly enjoying the ride I'm taking with you tonight in terms of exposure to Chapter 3 in full. I promised you I'd be covering the entire album, and I'm having a great time so far, and I hope all of you are too. Whether you happen to be a long-time Infinitor, or maybe you're sort of burgeoning in your space like me, right? I don't have the years of seniority others do by comparison, I know. But I'm sure we all have the same point of reference and the devotion. Maybe for some of you, you'll start your Infinitor journey, and I hope you do. As I said, I've loved this group, and I think if you haven't engaged with them in full, you're going to love the experience. I certainly have. Take it from me. Let me know what your thoughts are down below. Not only just, if you wish to disclose your perspective, of course, on perhaps the angle of approach you're taking. Again, longtime fan or first listen for you. And what you think of this particular piece. For me, Ravenous, one of the strongest on the album thus far. And again, I think all the pieces are fabulous, but this, the particular score here, again, that opener was fantastic, and the journey all the way through with it. With every point, I think, of strength from Ad Infinitum. And those breakdown sessions is great, were fabulous as well. With the riff background, I loved everything about it. Ravenous, top tier listen for me. And I can't wait to continue, as I said, with the journey that we're taking. Again, full album coverage. So next song we're going to be consulting is Under the Burning Skies. That's coming next. I hope it'll be as good as this one. I'm sure it will be. This is Ad Infinitum we're talking about. Thank you so much for watching this video. Before you bounce, feel free to drop a like and comment, subscribe to this channel with a ding on the bell, and share this video with your friends. And consider checking out the description here. There you'll find links to my other channels, as well as addresses to my other social media accounts and ways you can help support my work if you feel so inclined. May God bless you, and looking forward to when our paths cross again.